we're living in a day and age where our belief, we are aware of the quantum mechanics of belief and how powerful our thoughts and how powerful our beliefs are, and how to question beliefs. And just because one person believes something doesn't mean you should. And just because someone believes something that isn't what you believe doesn't mean they're wrong or right. Just means they're seeing from a different perspective.
There's different time zones around the world. So when one part of the earth is asleep, the other part of the earth is awake. So for example, if I'm in a place where everyone's sleeping and it's nighttime and I'm able to think clearly, but then the opposite side of the world, such as America, everyone is awake, then it must be literally based on where we are, and actually probably based on the sun and the moon, and maybe not the Earth's resonance. Although when you understand why we are able to channel better when people around us are down, it's because the energy field closest to us that we're most affected by is down, which means we have clarity.
Our ancestors used to have these burial mounds, and very most likely there was a crematorium, so they would cremate in these burial mounds, and they were aligned to specific star systems, and the opening was usually to the east, not all of them, and so it's a walkway in with a mound, like a stone circular monument. And I pick out my ankh and I was like, this is literally the same shape. This is the eternal life, the shape of eternal life, our connection to the heavens, to the above, and the circular reality, or the circular connection of life, of consciousness, of energy, that which can never be destroyed, the womb, the void. It's all circular. We come from where we return, and we're born again and again and again.
Just quickly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who still listens to the podcast. I started 4 years ago, and since then I've had over 1 million downloads. I get 5,000 downloads per month, and I've had over 200 different guests. So a massive thank you to everyone who still listens. If you could please do me a favour, if you could rate and review the podcast, that will be amazing, because it helps get the podcast out to new, conscious people like yourself. And my goal is to awaken as many people around the world. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's YesKingOliver, should you wish to see what I get up to on my day-to-day moments. Back to the episode.
Growing up, I used to walk around my neighborhood at night time, and it was the most amazing, peaceful time ever. Every night I'd go out, my parents were in bed, the whole neighborhood was in bed. There'll just be foxes and owls and wild animals just walking around. The moon was bright, it was cold, and it used to be my favorite thing to do when everyone else was going to sleep, because they had work the next day. And what I realized is that when everyone else is asleep, the resonance of the earth is dimmed. And people like myself that are very sensitive to energies, it allowed me to have clarity in my thoughts. It allowed me to work stuff out. It allowed me to make sense of stuff. It allowed me to think easier. There was no distractions. It was just me and literally an infinite source of energy, which allowed me to think and connect to the universe. And during the day afterwards, people will come back online, and then you have this struggle of clarity, and your ability to think becomes harder. And that's when I realized that the human consciousness is so powerful, and that if you surround yourself with the negative energies of people's brain, it really will affect you, and that we need to monopolize and find ways to get into our creative state, such as being up at nighttime, to really benefit ourselves, for people that are very sensitive to energies. Hang on, I can't hear you. Okay, now I can.
Okay, I totally agree. I live in New York City, and as you can probably hear, with the resonant sounds of the helicopters, there's a way for it to pass. There's a beauty of working with the collective consciousness, and there's a beauty of working outside of the collective consciousness. Part of the reasons why I love to live in the city and to work in the city is because I'm plugged into the collective consciousness, waking and rising, riding on the subway, and it feels like this really potent space to learn from so many different people, to have an influence, a positive impact on so many people. And with that intensity comes the polarity of unplugging and waking up at 4 a.m. and being the only one walking in the parks, or the only one meditating, or the only one up. And there's no helicopters, there's no psychic pollution. And it's in those spaces, it's called the witching hour for a reason. It's called like the veil between dimensions is the thinnest between 3 to 4 a.m., depending who you talk to. And so there's this stillness within the collective consciousness, within the vibratory field of the earth, that allows one to really have a clear connection with the self, with the land, just whatever it is one is trying to connect to. It's the clearest when there's less motion and less sound and less infiltration of just energy. And I don't mean infiltration in a negative sense. I mean it in just like, there's impact of vibrational waves impacting our.
Hang on, you've gone silent again. Right, say something. Right, you've gone mute. Right, now your camera's gone. Now your camera's back. You're still mute. Okay, now you're back.
Okay. Get this going.
So yeah, but what's interesting about that is that there's different time zones around the world. So when one part of the earth is asleep, the other part of the earth is awake. So for example, if I'm in a place where everyone's sleeping and it's nighttime, and I'm able to think clearly, but then the opposite side of the world, such as America, everyone is awake, then how am I able to have this clarity? Which means it's not a earth thing. It's not like a whole earth thing. It's like based on where I am on the earth, like the geographical location, or is it based on the amount of all the energies of the people that I'm connected to, which is my environment, my family, my friends? Is it that? Which means we become accustomed to it, like our circadian rhythm. We've become accustomed to it based on where we are. So is it that it's not the Earth's resonance because there's no one time where all humans are asleep? It must be literally based on where we are, and actually probably based on the sun and the moon, and maybe not the Earth's resonance. Although when you understand why we are able to channel better when people around us are down, it's because the energy field closest to us that we're most affected by is down, which means we have clarity,
Absolutely. And I think it goes into the conversation is like, is awareness, is consciousness local? And this is I'm conflicted on this. So I don't believe either or, but it's an interesting concept because I just got back from travels and I was talking to my partner on our way back. And when we landed back in New York, he said something, all my memories are coming back to me. And I thought that was really interesting because like memory is so tied to our physical location. And if awareness is tied to memory per se, I don't think it is, but let's just, for the sake of an argument, go there. Like if awareness and memory are interchangeable and interwoven in space and time through one perspective, then our consciousness in a specific moment in 3D reality, which is hindered because of space and time, where we are is going to have a very profound impact on our consciousness and our awareness. Now, if we were to go above three-dimensional reality, transcend the obstacles of space and time and density and all of these three-dimensional constructs, then I believe our awareness and our perception and our consciousness is not based by location, it's omnipresence. But we're working within a framework that we need to speak to of the third dimensional realm, which is all about space and time. So to go back to your original question and like what is said, I think that's the path of awakening and the path of consciousness and the path of spirituality is how can you overcome your environment? How can you overcome the distractions and the constructs of three-dimensional reality to get into that space where consciousness is beyond location and is beyond space and time.
Yeah, that's I've never heard somebody say is consciousness local. But what's amazing is that it's probably a mixture of everything. So quantum physics, it's all of it. It's where you are based on the sun and the moon and your friends, your environment, and what you see at where you are right now. And you've got a bit of like the earth resonance of all the humans collectively. What's the majority of people doing? Maybe the majority of people at nighttime are asleep, and it's all about the majority of humans. Or is it the fact that it's all three at the same time, but it's what we focus on and believe which determines our state? So if we believe that at nighttime we are able to function better than the daytime, regardless of if anyone's asleep or not, regardless of whether it's nighttime in America, we believe that, so we expect that reality. So we are expecting to have clarity when our family and friends go to bed. At the same time, if we didn't believe that, then we would counteract that and we probably wouldn't be able to sleep. So it's everything at once, I think, and also based on what we think it is, which means really everything is about ultimately our last belief. It's like what we decide. It's what we decide. We choose and create everything based on everything. It's like coffee. If I drink decaf and I think it's got caffeine, I'm alert. And if I have coffee before bed and I'm told it's decaf, then I'm going to sleep like a baby. So really, the 3D reality is bullshit because we determine the outcome ourselves, period.
It's a big placebo effect.
Yeah, literally.
I agree. I think one of the most beautiful parts of playing with consciousness, playing with awareness, playing with all the concepts that we're talking about is becoming so aware and present with our sensitivities, with the input of information, and being able to rise above maybe a frequency field that is interacting with us. I don't want to say in a negative way, or just like distracting us from our true center. And the whole art of awareness and consciousness and spirituality is to be able to read the landscape, to read the field, and be harmoniously interacting with that field, whether that's to rise above it, to be able to get whatever you need to get done, or is it to like interplay with the field to bring it into more resonance and more harmony. And I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. In fact, I think they are quite, I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah, what's coming to mind is that, back in the day, different parts of the world created pyramids. And it's like, well, they're literally thousands of miles apart. They didn't have cars and boats and planes. So how are they all making these pyramids exactly the same, but in different parts of the world? So it goes back to if the Western world's asleep and like UK is awake and Australia are just about to go to bed, translate that to people in Egypt building pyramids, people in Africa, and people in Mexico. They're all doing it at the same time, but not at the same time. It means that there's like a split perspective on Earth at all times. Everything is like a catch up and a delay. So it's like Americans wake up, they go to work, they go to bed. English wake up, they do the same thing the Americans did. They go to work, they go to bed. And it's just like this trail of consciousness where humans are just catching up, the same as China creates all of these amazing products, Americans catch on, and say people in Africa will learn how to make a TV in 15 years time because of the evolution of how it takes to build something. So it's like we're all following this path, but it's all happening at the same time. We're tuning in to someone else doing it. We're tuning into the future. The pyramid people are tuning into future humans that have done it. At the same time, they might be tuning into people now doing it. So they somehow know how to lay the block on the pyramid because somewhere on the earth in Mexico, they're doing it right now. It's a mind fuck because it's like three realities going on at all times. And if you observe that reality, it becomes the one that you want, and the reality doesn't exist. So it just shows you that this earth and how everything operates is far complex, which is far
That would
complex.
prove, that would prove that consciousness is not local.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've never thought about, is consciousness local? So I will be thinking about that when I'm on a walk or something.
Yeah, well, I think we'd have to it's so heady. Like we'd have to really refine our definition of what consciousness is, because consciousness and awareness sometimes get interwoven, and they're very different, but they're also very similar. Because I think awareness is local, where consciousness is omnipresent, but our awareness is a part of our consciousness. And we could go into semantics for, it's a rabbit hole. But what you're saying is really interesting to me, because I just got back from Scotland, and I do a lot of grid work. I do a lot of work with the ley lines and sacred sites, and learning from our ancestors' traditions, and in burial traditions and ceremonial traditions, and all of the ceremonial rites of different lineages across the earth. And there is so much overlap in the way the ancients communed. And when I went to a sacred site. It's called Clava Cairn. It's near Inverness, North Scotland, and it's a burial ground. And when I pack for these initiations, pilgrimages, whatever you want to call them, adventures, I just listen to spirit, and I ask what crystals, what sacred items, all these little things am I bringing for this? And the Ankh was like, you have to bring the Ankh. And I was like, all right, let's bring the Ankh. And so I had the Ankh in my pocket, and I was walking around these burial mounds, and I took it out, and it was so powerful. I had a whole moment that I can't even describe with words, because it's beyond. But I was looking at the shape of the Ankh, the key, and looking at the cairn. So the cairn is a stone mound, Neolithic period, so 5,000 plus years ago, before the Iron Age, before the Bronze Age, a long time ago. And so our ancestors used to have these burial mounds where we're not 100% sure of their traditions, but very most likely it was a crematorium. So they would cremate in these burial mounds, and they were aligned to specific star systems, and the opening was usually to the east. Not all of them, but some of them were to the east for the rising sun. And so it's a walkway in with a mound, and the mound is no longer a mound because it's 5,000 years old. So you can see it's like a stone thing, like a stone circular monument with an entryway. And so I'm walking into the cairn, and I pick out my Ankh, and I was like, this is literally the same shape. This is the eternal life, the shape of eternal life, our connection to the heavens, to the above, and the circular reality, or the circular connection of life, of consciousness, of energy, that which can never be destroyed, the womb, the void. It's all circular. We come from where we return, and we're born again and again and again in that beautiful circuitous route. But in our linear incarnation in the 3D plane, from space and time, we have that pathway. So it's a pathway to the circle, and the shapes and the geometry between two completely different places in space and time, very old, had a lot of synchronicity and overlap of their traditions. And I was just there in awe of the similarity between the Ankh and the cairn.
So I'm about to go to Glastonbury. So obviously that's a ley line place. So explain ley lines and what they are, and tell me what they are.
Great question. So the ley lines of the earth are very specific energetic currents that are like Earth's Kundalini. So just like how we have our chakra system, Earth has her chakra system. And there's specific ley lines that are weaving throughout her body that are sources and conduits of energy. So Glastonbury is known to have the line of Archangel Michael and the line of Mary Magdalene. So, and it depends who you talk to. Everyone has different reads, so don't quote me. But these two intersections of energy is, it's Christ consciousness, the true Christ consciousness, and the true Magdalene frequency, and Archangel Michael frequency, which is like the protector and the guardian of humanity. And so these two energies are very powerful. There's a big interplay between the Marys, I feel, in Glastonbury, of the two sides of the feminine. There's a lot of, then you can go into the history of like King Arthur and Excalibur, and that's not really ley lines, but it's interwoven in the sacred site, and I'm just going to put that to the side. But a lot of the energy in Glastonbury is through the water, which is the feminine, and you'll feel the information of the divine feminine and the polarity of the divine feminine. We have been taught so much in our rhetoric and through Christianity, through the patriarchy, through all the systems that may be, that, the feminine has to be soft and docile and whatever. We all know that story. I don't have to get into it. And that would be more of the beautiful frequency of Mother Mary, the all gracious, the all caring, the unconditional love, energy, the compassion of Mother Mary, which is so beautiful. And then you have the Magdalene. The Magdalene is the more towards the frequency of the sacred feminine rage, or the red feminine. So this is the feminine that we see most, I think, in the wild, from a lioness energy or from a dragon energy. The feminine energy that protects the lineage at all costs and protects love at all costs, and is in that expression of unconditional love, of I will protect you at all costs, and don't test me energy. So you have these two energies, and everyone has a different connection with Magdalene and Mary, and this is a very short synopsis of my connection. But you'll feel, if you are tapping into the feminine and the Marys, you'll feel this beautiful way, the sacred red line of the feminine, the rage, the reclamation, the raw power of the feminine. You'll see how that intertwines so beautifully with the grace and the white feminine and the unconditional love and the compassion. And you'll feel it in the well, because the well is very much connected to Mother Mary, and it has this healing properties, and it's just heavenly beyond heaven. And that's a little bit of the ley lines in Glastonbury.
So I'm interested. So those two people, did they go there? Is it because they were there and their consciousness, that the land is now filled with their consciousness and their wisdom that's passed down? Or are they drawn there because of the resonance of that part of the earth, the same as other parts of the earth, the ley line parts have the same resonance? So is there any specific parts of the earth that have this resonance and then you'll be drawn to them? Or is it something they've done that made it that frequency based on their consciousness?
I think a little bit of both. I'm not an expert, so I don't know specifically. But I think I think you have to go and find out for yourself. I think there's a lot of confliction in Glastonbury too, because it's also, so rich in paganism and Druidism and what came before Christianity. And you can find this beautiful dance of and understanding that they're very similar. There's just a little bit of politics involved, and by a little, I mean a lot. And when I think of Magdalene, I think of France. So that's really where her frequency lies. But there is the Mary line and the Michael line in Glastonbury, and why it's been revered for many, many years, no one really knows, I don't think. unless, I don't think anyone really knows. So you have to find the information that resonates with you.
And what's amazing is based on that last statement is that no one really knows. So we're operating on the belief that this is what it is. And if it isn't, and if we could somehow go into the future and these people didn't exist or they never went there, we've basically created this reality based on our belief system, which goes back to, is consciousness local? Are we creating our reality exactly how we want it? Or is there facts behind what we are like observing? Or is it a bit of both? It's literally everything. Again, it goes back to this like reality. It's like we're aware of what's in front of us, but our consciousness can be not in front of us. And then we can be aware of our consciousness is not just what's in front of us. So when we've got a thought coming into our mind, we know it might not just be coming from something we're seeing and witnessing in front of us, and that it could be someone else's thought or another person who resonates on the same frequency as us in terms of how we think. They might be thinking this, and because we're the same resonance as that person, it's now our thought. The same as a twin will think about something, and because they're the same resonance, the other twin will think about it. And so it is a really profound thing to think about, which is nothing's ours. It's all literally recycled. It's all recycled. Recycled energy, recycled thoughts, recycled action, shit that happened so many years ago. We're just doing it again. Like, apparently there was technical machines to build stuff back in the day, and they found like old versions of computers like hundreds of thousands of years ago. And to think that, there was humans that could do that compared to now, when we just think about, well, we didn't have that 50 years ago. It is quite mind-blowing. And then you ask yourself, well, if we've evolved to this level to do this, why would it just be us in the last 50 years that have evolved this, when there's millions of humans that have been on the planet, there's many planets around the world, there's many like thousands of years before that humans operated on this earth. And if the universe is all connected and we're just one planet out of millions, who's to say that there isn't other planets where they've already created technology and we're just tuning into them? So it's like, everything's just like, we're just in a box, and whatever's in the box is everyone's. And it's like, grab what you want, take it now, take it later. There's an abundance of everything. If you don't want it, give it back, someone else will take it. And then you like zoom out into galaxies, and it's like, fuck, like this is all just what we make of it. And
absolutely,
it's what we make of it.
And that's a beautiful segue. I think like that's what's so beautiful about life on Earth is, I think, and especially the Aquarian age, which we're now into, it's really the empowerment of believe what you want, believe beyond the norm, believe beyond what you're told. Read a plaque, question it. It's probably wrong. I was just, in a foreign country doing, touristy things. I'm reading plaques. I'm like, I don't know how. There's no way they know this. This is looking at bones, and I'm like, how? I'm just gonna believe this? Like, no. Yes and no to a certain degree. Everything is different, but we're living in a day and age where our belief, we are aware of the quantum mechanics of belief and how powerful our thoughts and how powerful our beliefs are, and how to question beliefs. And just because one person believes something doesn't mean you should. And just because someone believes something that isn't what you believe doesn't mean they're wrong or right. Just means they're seeing from a different perspective. And that's what makes innovation and evolution start to take place, is because we're all learning and seeing from different perspectives. And then this multidimensional reality comes to life, rather than the Piscean age, which we're moving away from, where there was a doctrine, where there was a belief, where there was a Bible, where there was strict code and conduct of how to be a human. And now we're totally dismantling that, and we're seeing a lot of conflict of people feeling that call to rise in the Aquarian age and speaking their truth, speaking their mind, going beyond the status quo, saying what they want. And it being so triggering to people because we're still dismantling that Piscean belief that we're supposed to all believe the same thing. And like unity consciousness is if we only believe the same thing. And that's all bullshit. Unity consciousness is when we allow and accept all beliefs to have an equal say at the round table, the Knights of the Round Table.
Talk to me about the Aquarius age. Like, what is it? How long does it last? What was it before? And like, what does it mean for Aquariuses, etc.? Because I'm an Aquarius.
Ooh, I am not a numbers person, so I would have to phone a friend for how long it lasts. But we have Google. How long does the a long time Aquarian age?
I don't think anyone on the podcast has Googled something on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Well, we want to be accurate. So it's roughly 2,160 years, though there is no universal agreement.
What? So it's Aquarius
no.
years for the next 140 years.
Yeah. So, and
what does it mean for Aquariuses?
Well, you're whether it's conscious or subconscious, the collective is looking to the Aquarian energy to inspire and to innovate the way we move forward. And the Aquarian energy is one really in servitude to humanity. It's in opposition of Leo, and we love Leo energy. Leo's ruled by the sun, and that's all about the self. Aquarius is the opposite of being in full like ego or self. And I don't mean these in any negative things. Any Leos watching, I love you. You guys are great. You make us laugh. You entertain us. We're here for the Leos. But an Aquarius is more for like, how do I uplift humanity? It's more of a humble act of service rather than, the Leo who's going to be a leader. Both are great. So the Aquarian age is really understanding authenticity and individuality. So the Piscean age was really like, you could think like Jesus, Christianity, controlled belief, those belief systems. Piscean is a very controlled, singular way of thinking.
And that was just gone, right?
Yes. Now we don't know exactly when we shift from ages, but some people say it was 2012. Some people say it was a great conjunction in 2020.
And is it based on the planets where they are in space? Like who determines whether it's Pisces season or Aquarius? Is it planets or what?
It is planets. Let's look it up. What dictates Aquarius?
It's just amazing because it just shows that like everything gone.
It dictates by the slow wobble of the Earth's axis, known as the precession of equinoxes, which causes the vernal equinox to slowly shift through the zodiac constellations over 2,160 years. So it's the axis of the Earth on the equinox is aligned to Aquarius.
Meaning aligned to like, what is Aquarius? Is it the planets or?
The constellation.
Which is?
Aquarius.
I don't know too much about this stuff, but it's very interesting because it's very accurate. And I'm like, well, it has to be fucking science because it's so accurate. Like it's, you can't not believe it.
Yeah. So when the vernal equinox points, so the equinox, we just had an equinox, and I believe it was the vernal. I'm such a fact person. If I don't want to misspeak on these things, vernal equinox, I think it's the autumn equinox. Is it? It would be autumn for us. No. The vernal equinox is not autumn. It is the beginning of spring in the northern hemisphere and autumn in the southern hemisphere. So we just had the autumn equinox on September 22nd. Now, and then the spring equinox is on March 22nd-ish. So the Earth axis in March equinox, it's aligned to Aquarius, the constellation. I don't know who came up with this, but this is what
the constellation is. What exactly?
Constellation is a group of stars. So
got it.
Each zodiac is a constellation of stars, and then each constellation is ruled by a planet. So Aquarius is ruled by Uranus and Saturn. So if we use planetary alignments with the zodiac, Uranus is all about innovation. Saturn is all about time and karma. So the age of Aquarius is all about reconstructing our relationship with time, karma, and innovation.
It's amazing because Saturn Returns just came like a few years ago, and my whole life felt like it was just like this. Everything was against me until Saturn came back, and everything just falls in perfect synchronicity across the board. And it's like I spent 30 years of undoing my karma and fucking healing and all that type of crap. So literally, if people knew that we're not in control of anything, and it's literally based on planets and energy, which means what we think about, we'd be able to think about things that are in relation to, say, human design and astrology and astrocartography. And then people who are like, why doesn't anything work out for me? Why am I not with a partner? Why does shit go wrong? It's like we'd have a roadmap of this is perfectly aligned. All you've got to do is go through it and learn from it, and you'll end up evolving. It's crazy how I don't believe like there's a God creating everything. I believe that, as you say, we're connected to certain energies, and certain energies are drawn to certain places, which people over time see with their eyes, which creates thoughts, which goes into the ether, which now become other people's thoughts who are on the same resonance, which means you've got like this duplicate vision of seeing something. Hence why people in Mexico can build a pyramid and people in Africa can also build a pyramid. And like we're just tuning into the same things that the people of the same resonance saw, and then it becomes like a roadmap of Aquarius see this, think like this, Leo see this, think like this, Pisces see this and think like this. And all we've got to do is understand we're all human, but we're not the same. We don't think the same. Our diets aren't the same. Our gut is not the same because we come from different parts of the earth. Stay in our lane, stay along the ley lines, for example, and everything will be like on that path. Your fellow human is also living, we're next to you, but they're not the same. They don't have to think the same. It's okay if they don't think the same. And that's religion, that's politics, that's business ideas. It's just like, there's like 12 different rules of like thoughts. Yeah.
There's so much, and that's the beauty, and that is the Aquarian age, is know thyself and allow thyself to be free.
If there was one thing you had to say, if you'd one day left to live, what would that be?
It only gets better.
Okay, anything else?
I have so much to say, but I'll keep it simple. Just, it only gets better.
Okay, and anything you want to promote or plug before we finish?
Well, for those who are in New York City or traveling to New York City, I'm creating a new alternative nightlife experience called Altered, and it's breath work on the dance floor to access altered states of consciousness holistically. And so that's happening in New York, but I'm also available through my platform Starseeded for business mentorship, creative mentorship, and spiritual mentorship.
Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, please remember to subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, like the episode, and comment below. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's YesKingOliver. Take a look at the other videos to your side. And if you just want to listen to this podcast, you can do so on Apple and Spotify and most other platforms by going to talkwitholiver.com.